Was Belshazzar a real historical figure or just a figment of the imagination? And if he was real, why did he offer Daniel the third highest position in Babylon and not the second? Could a discovered artifact sitting in the London Museum provide the key to unlocking this mystery? I'll answer these questions and more on this edition of the Faith Affirming Findings podcast.
Welcome to Faith Affirming Findings, a podcast dedicated to sharing with you
the incredible discoveries from the field of biblical archaeology.
These findings will strengthen your faith, affirm the historicity of Scripture, and provide you with unique insights into the culture and background of the Bible.
Now, here is your host, Associate Professor of Bible Exposition at Dallas Theological Seminary,
Dr. Paul Weaver.
In the last Faith Affirming Finding video, I shared with you about an archaeological discovery that silenced the critics, that being the Nabonidus cylinder. It affirmed the reality of the historical character recorded in the book of Daniel known as Belshazzar, silencing the critics. In this episode, we're going to look at an ancient tablet called the Nabonidus Chronicle and how it not only affirmed that Belshazzar was indeed a historical person, but it also unlocks what was once a mystery to so many Bible scholars. You'll remember that Daniel chapter 5 records the feast of Belshazzar. He invites 1,000 of his nobles, and at this feast, Belshazzar makes a very, very bad decision. He pulls out the temple vessels from Yahweh, his temple in Jerusalem, the very same vessels that his ancestor Nebuchadnezzar had previously taken from the Jewish temple in 605 BC. It is after having desecrated these vessels in an act of defiance against Yahweh that a hand appears out of nowhere, and this hand writes 3 Aramaic words on the wall. These Aramaic words were Mene, Tekel, and Peres. The arrogant, self-confident Belshazzar instantly becomes a coward. He becomes so fearful that the translation of the text from Daniel 5:6 reads, "His knees started knocking together." Belshazzar is baffled by these 3 words and being uncertain what these 3 words meant, but certain that the gods were trying to communicate something to him. Belshazzar declares that whoever can interpret what these 3 words mean, he would make that person third in power over the Babylonian kingdom. This promise is recorded in Daniel chapter 5 verse 7, and I quote, "The king spoke and said to the wise men of Babylon, 'Any man who can read this inscription and explain this interpretation to me shall be clothed with purple and have a necklace of gold around his neck and have authority as third ruler in the kingdom.'" The same promise is then repeated again to Daniel in chapter 5 verse 16, and then once Daniel accurately interprets these 3 words and in essence tells Belshazzar that God is going to cause his kingdom to fall, Belshazzar keeps his promise. The text says in Daniel chapter 5 verse 29, "Then Belshazzar gave orders, and they clothed Daniel with purple and put a necklace of gold around his neck and issued a proclamation concerning him that he now had authority as the third ruler in the kingdom." Now, for years, Christians believed this account to be true, not fully understanding why. In other words, Bible scholars and translators were left scratching their heads, wondering why Daniel would be offered the third place over the kingdom and not the second. Those of us who believe the Bible is inspired and inerrant accepted this description by faith, which is the right thing to do. But we did not fully understand the why Belshazzar offered the third position of power. We knew the what, but not the why. But then the Nabonidus Chronicle was discovered. The Nabonidus Chronicle, one of approximately 45 tablets, known also as the Babylonian Chronicles. This particular fragment, also technically referred to as Babylonian Chronicle number 7, is housed at the British Museum. The Nabonidus Chronicle is a rectangular tablet written in Akkadian using the cuneiform script, which was an ancient system of writing invented by the Sumerians. It is about 5.5 inches long, 5 3/4 inches wide, and this tablet chronicles or records a summary of the main events that occurred during the reign of Nabonidus, beginning in 556. Though damaged and partially broken, this tablet offers invaluable insight into the life and reign of Nabonidus, the last king of the Babylonian Empire. The Nabonidus Chronicle, like the Nabonidus Cylinder that we discussed on last week's program, not only affirms the historical character of Belshazzar, again silencing the critics who said Belshazzar was a fictitious character, but it also explains why Belshazzar offered and eventually gave Daniel the third position of power in the empire. One line in particular provides unique insights. The Chronicle states, and I quote, "In the 7th year of Nabonidus' reign, the king was in Tema, while the prince, Belshazzar, his officers, and his army were in Akkad, or Babylonia. Nabonidus did not come to Babylon." And this language is repeated for multiple years. Why does this matter? Because this discovery confirms that Belshazzar was a real historical figure, not a mistake or a myth, and here's the connection to Daniel chapter 5. If Nabonidus was the first ruler and Belshazzar was the second ruler, then the highest position Belshazzar could offer as co-ruler was third place. And that's exactly what the text in Daniel says, and that's exactly what Daniel was given. So, in summary, this is a faith-affirming finding because first, it silences the critics and affirms the biblical record about Belshazzar. And second, it also provided Bible expositors additional help in making sense of a couple verses in Daniel's prophetic book that have baffled conservative scholars for many years. The Nabonidus Chronicle is currently housed in the British Museum in London, England, alongside 2 other artifacts connected to Nabonidus, the Nabonidus Cylinder and the Nabonidus Stele. And that is your faith-affirming finding of the week. If this discovery encouraged your faith, be sure to get your copy of my book published by Kregel Publishing entitled Faith-Affirming Findings, subtitled 50 Archaeological Discoveries That Affirm the Historicity and Reliability of Scripture. This book features the discovery that I just mentioned, along with 49 other incredible discoveries from the field of biblical archaeology. Plus, your purchase includes access to 50 PowerPoint presentations perfect for teaching, preaching, and personal as well as group Bible studies. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.
Faith Affirming Findings podcast is a listener-supported podcast devoted to affirming your faith in the reliability of Scripture and illuminating your understanding of Scripture.
If you would like to help sponsor the Faith Affirming Finding podcast,
You can make a tax-deductible donation of any amount, large or small,
at faithaffirmingfindings.com. That's faithaffirmingfindings.com and click on the Give tab.
We hope you'll join us again next week for another exciting Faith Affirming Finding.